Good morning and welcome to today's video. I'm in a car with Will. We've been doing a bit of filming at his local gym because we're making a promo video for him, but we thought we'd take this opportunity to make a quick video on race day nutrition. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Obviously Will's a nutritionist. I've started doing some races again, so I need your help.
Oh yeah, I heard you did the TT. Yeah, you're really good, right?
Well, I was fueled by, what did I have as nutrition? I ate 3 Jaffa cakes before.
Oh, it's strong.
I thought you were supposed to be a nutritionist.
Oh, no. I got changed as we were driving.
Come on, mate.
Talk about race day nutrition.
Yeah, you're not supposed to eat 3 Jaffa cakes.
Not just 3 Jaffa cakes, no. I would divide it into what distance you're going to do. So is it like a crit race? Is it a road race? Is it something longer than a road race? Which will be anything, I guess, longer than 3 or 4 hours. Your race day nutrition starts with the carb load the day before, doesn't it? So how much you need to load your system for that race. If it's a crit race, anything less than 3 hours really, I probably wouldn't load. I'd just have food on the day. And then if it's a road race, then I'd be looking at a carbohydrate load the day before. Typically what I give the guys, like in the World Tour, whatever, like 10 grams per kilogram body weight of carbohydrate. You know, they'll be having 700, 800 grams of carbohydrate the day before. If it's no activity, if they're going to do like an hour or some openers or something, then I'll give them a little bit more. For
someone like me who's not going to be weighing their food, what would you suggest they eat the night before to carb load then? So like a big bowl of pasta? What sort of meal suggestions have you got?
I would start actually in reverse. So like if you have a really big evening meal and don't have lots during the day, you're just going to have a large meal in that evening. It's going to still be in you in the morning, so you're going to feel kind of heavy in the morning. Whereas if you had a bigger breakfast and lunch and maybe a slightly smaller dinner, that food's going to kind of go through that digestive system and be ready to leave you in the morning rather than still being in you. I'd go for more simple, low fiber foods. So white rice is probably better than pasta, or rice noodles, something like this. White breads, things like this are going to be low in fiber and give you all the carbohydrate you need.
Sugary drink?
Yes, to help you get the carbohydrate in. Obviously 800 grams of carbohydrate can be loads and can be quite hard to eat all of that. So having something like just a maltodextrin like supplement drink that you can mix yourself.
Or just a fruit juice, right?
Yeah, fruit juice would help as well. Yeah, and it's micronutrient dense. And that's going to help you get your carbohydrate in for the day in an easier way. What would be your go-to meal for the evening? Oh, that's really tough. Oh my god.
Pizza.
I mean, that wouldn't be too bad, to be honest.
You heard it here first, guys. Pizza is good for you.
As long as it doesn't have loads of cheese. Probably something like teriyaki chicken and some rice and a small amount of veg to go with that, something. Not too spicy curry. Yeah, definitely.
So phase 2 of race day nutrition. Yep. The day of the race.
Yeah.
Depends on the time of the race though, surely.
Yeah, definitely. Like an afternoon race would be a bit more ideal, but it's not always the case. I would weigh in the morning and see how much difference potentially there is. Obviously if you've got a problem with weighing yourself and it's going to negatively affect you, then I wouldn't. But sometimes if you've ridden the day before and you've eaten, you might actually not have stored as much carbohydrate as you thought you might have. So I've had riders wake up actually lighter, you know, if they've done a hard day. I would always point blank say 2 to 4 hours you want to be having a good meal, around 1.2 grams per kilogram body weight of carbohydrate. For a 70 kilo male, it's going to be around 85, 90 grams of carbs. And that might be about 80 grams of oats and then a banana and like a tablespoon of maple syrup. So for a British race, that's usually about 10, 11 o'clock start. Yeah. That's going to be your breakfast. Yeah, definitely. You want to get that in. I'd also take that with a bit of protein to start, make sure you're staying in a protein balance, a positive one. You want to be taking on a bidon of water with an electrolyte 2 hours before, sipping that, and then if you go to the toilet and you're still passing like dark colour, I would have another bidon with another electrolyte in. I'd have caffeine an hour before that race, ergogenic or performance enhancing amount, which we spoke about at Chris's 24, which is 3 milligrams per kilogram body weight. So 75 milligrams per typical espresso shot. How long does the race have to be to warrant more dosing of caffeine during the event? Say 4 hours or greater. Half-life of caffeine's about 4 to 6 hours. And if it's going to be around 4 hours or longer, taking on another 75 to 150 milligrams during the race, about probably the 2, maybe the 3 hour mark, will improve your performance for the last hour or 2. Say your race is in the evening, like when we used to race the Tour Series, they were always evening things. Yeah. Would you then have a smaller breakfast? Yeah. You don't want to load the whole day because, you know, a crit race or an evening race like that is only going to be an hour long. You don't need to load, you don't need loads of food. So just having your normal breakfast and lunch, and then a specific pre-race meal, that 2 to 4 hours, which can be a bit larger, and then following that hydration protocol, getting your caffeine in if you want, if that race is really important, because caffeine that late will affect your sleep. If you really want, you can have something 5 to 20 minutes before the start or when you're warming up.
Yeah.
And I'd have anything that could just be a banana, it could be a slice of bread and jam, something like that, simple. Have you got any other questions? Like, what do you do? What do you do to race? Like,
eat 3 Jaffa cakes, I told you.
Oh yeah, eat 3 Jaffa cakes. Yeah.
So after your bike race,
Yeah.
do you want to be having just a protein shake, or do you want to be having like 5-to-1 carbs to protein mix?
It doesn't need to be a protein shake. It's a bit of a fallacy or myth. What's more important is total daily protein intake and then frequency. So you want to be getting protein every 3 to 4 hours. If you had protein 2 hours before your race was an hour, that would be 3 hours then. So you could have protein, I'd say, in the next hour after your race, but you don't need to be rushing to get it by any means. So if you had your protein literally before the race started, let's say for example, and it was an hour, you don't need to have anything for another 2 or 3 hours.
But the carbohydrate straight after is important?
That depends if you're going to do any activity in the next, 10 to 12 hours. So if you had an evening crit race, like you were saying, like an Hillingdon crit race, and then the next morning you'd programmed in efforts in the morning on your turbo, then I would have carbohydrate after that, and I would make it simple carbohydrate that's going to easily come back into the muscle. Whereas if you didn't have anything and you weren't going to train until the next evening or had a rest day, I probably wouldn't have too much carbohydrate. You don't need it as much. And it's just going to favourably affect your body composition.
What if you were just riding to work the next morning and you didn't want to feel terrible?
I'd say protein would still be the main driver of recovery, whereas carbohydrate is going to help slightly, and it will definitely help if you have not enough protein. So if it's a less than adequate amount, that carbohydrate will help a bit more. But still, even if you're commuting, I wouldn't worry too much.
Easy, mate.
Yeah. Everyone's going to be going so quick now.
All my viewers will be going quick.
Yeah.
To conclude, 3 Jaffa cakes.